Coach, you got the unique challenge of, or the Dolphins have the unique challenge. They've got two former cornerbacks called on to play safety in Eric Rowe and Bobby McCain. What's that challenge like in terms of helping those players make that conversion? And is it one that you think is the new wave in the NFL?
Well, to me, it's a very familiar challenge because I personally went through that myself as a corner in college and transitioned into safety prior to my career in the National Football League. So it's something that I'm familiar with. And so, it's different, but those guys have definitely done the necessary things to kind of transition to that role. And it's just continuing to have them improve throughout practice. You know, when you're not a safety, you're not being that primary communicator as you are when you're in that position. So these guys have been doing a good job, and then we'll continue to develop their communication out there on the field so they can take command and be quarterbacks of their defense.
Alan?
Good morning, Gerald. Welcome to South Florida, or welcome back, I should say. You mentioned your playing career, so I wanted to ask you what comes to mind when you think to your stint here as a player a few years back.
Probably the cup of coffee that I drink every morning. I wasn't here for that long. So, but it's good to be back in familiar settings and able to contribute in this way.
We'll go to Barry.
Hi, Gerald. I wanted to ask you about what you saw on tape in the evaluation process of the two rookies you drafted. Noah, what did you like specifically about his skill set, and Brandon Jones as well?
Well, you knew those guys had great athleticism coming in. They have great tools to be able to develop in our program. And not to mention just their athleticism, but just getting the chance to meet them throughout the process. You knew that they were guys that had the football character that we were looking for in our building. And so we haven't really had a chance to obviously see that on display on the field. You know, we're just getting to start practice, but you can tell just by their football character and their makeup that they're willing to be coachable and to improve on a day-to-day.
Josh?
Hey, Gerald. Appreciate you, man. Byron Jones was on here a few days ago, and he mentioned how you have been such a great teacher to him, and it's easy for him and the other D-backs to learn from you. I was wondering, throughout each step in your career, who have been the good teachers that have helped you out and in terms of coaches and mentors and such?
I think my experience with Jimmy Lake, who's the head coach at Washington now, and Chris Peterson and his staff were monumental in my coaching career, and really had me think about developing the teaching aspect of being a coach and really being a great presenter and making sure that I take all the complexities of the game and make it simple for the guys to be able to comprehend and execute out there on the field, and just trying to get better in that way and form. And I think that, some of the experience that I've currently had here with this coaching staff is just continue to challenge me as a teacher and develop these guys and getting those guys to understand what we're trying to get them to do on defense.
Joe Shad?
Hey, Coach. I was thinking about how in college football you have these 4 or 5-star recruits sometimes. You're not exactly sure how they're going to perform when the lights turn on. No benefit of a preseason game. How to draw a parallel to the rookies you're working with. How can you best prepare? How can you best make sure that, especially the youngsters, the newcomers, that you know what you have, that you know how prepared they are, without the benefit of those preseason reps?
Well, everybody got dealt the same hand, in regards to what's going on. So we got to have not only our young players, but really everybody. Every single repetition that we take out on the field, whether it be through a practice setting or a walkthrough setting or every single meeting or, every moment that we spend and energy that we spend towards, trying to get ourselves prepared for the season is valuable. And we don't have those preseason, under the lights opportunities to make a trial run at this. It's going to be live when we get our first opportunity to compete. And so it's just continuing to heighten the level of urgency on a day-to-day basis with every single drill. And that's our challenge as a coaching staff. That's our challenge as a team to get ourselves ready for a month from now.
Omar?
I want to ask you about the young players in terms of the not Byron Jones, but Brandon Jones and Noah. what's the challenge of getting them to learn this defense so that they can contribute right away? What's that like?
There's so many things that young guys have to learn, and it's just learning really, how to practice, how to be a professional, and not to mention all the things and the responsibilities and the communication that it takes, to be able to feel comfortable and develop in this defense. And it's really just going to take reps. It's going to take, repetition and, being able to see different plays and experience different things at practice. And obviously, as we start to intensify the practice, they'll be able to make those full speed mistakes and learn from them and develop as they go. And so it's just going to take, time and reps and being able to get those reps to feel ready and continue to develop from there.
Safid?
Coach, how are you? I wanted to ask, how did you and Coach Flo first get in touch with each other? Maybe when you first met, and what was your reaction when he first reached out to you for this job?
I got a chance to meet Coach Flo and really these guys really through Taekwon Underwood, who I played with in Jacksonville. I was here really locally with and visiting Blake Baker, who I coached with at Arkansas State, who's the defensive coordinator at the University of Miami. While I was in town, I came and visited Taekwon and got a chance to just meet some guys in the building, and then got an opportunity to be here and really kind of shadow in training camp of last year during an internship, and going back and taking some of that information to Cal where I was coaching at the time, and it was valuable information just being here for a week, and I learned a lot from this coaching staff. When the opportunity came, and obviously I was very excited and grateful for the opportunity, which I still am. And now that I'm here, I understand what my responsibility is to be able to lead the secondary and contribute to this team as much as I can.
All right. Travis?
Hey, good morning, Coach. You talked a little bit about the character of the two rookie defensive backs you guys drafted. And Coach Flores talks a lot about communication as an important trait on his team, with an emphasis on players that can communicate on this defense and in this defensive backfield. How much does that help you guys acclimate things quickly in this condensed offseason program?
Well, communication is a must in our defense. I mean, all guys have to be on the same page, and especially at the safety position. We have the depth of the defense, and we're responsible to really get everybody in line. And so it's very important that whether you're young or an older vet, that the communication is on point. And we know that big plays always run through the secondary, whether it be in the pass game or the run game. And the easiest way to give up an explosive play in the back end is lack of communication. What I tell those guys is lack of communication leads to disaster. And so we have to make sure that all of our communication is on point, regardless of the condensed offseason and not a lot of reps in the offseason. Through practice and walkthrough, we have to understand what certain terminology means and get everybody on the same page. And, those guys are going to be the ones that are playing on Sunday. So it's not really important how much I know. It's just how important I know how much those guys know, and their awareness out there on display on the field, and understand what words to say, what communication to make sure everybody's on the same page.
All right, we have time for one more. We'll go to Armando.
Coach, I'm wondering, the focus is often on how players adapt and learn a new system and techniques. As a coach new to the techniques, how did you do it?
How I did is just obviously listening to the guys who were experiencing the system. I have great resources with Coach Boyer and Coach Flo. I have experience, myself as a player, which really doesn't matter. But just taking all my experience in coaching and as a player and really applying it to some of the things that I'm being taught that we want done in our defense. And, at the end of the day, taking all that information and relaying it to our players in a simple form where those guys can comprehend it and go out there and rep it and continue to develop and get better. And I'm looking forward to what that can look like over the next couple of weeks as we start really ramping up the intensity of practice.